The APH Tactile Graphics Image Library is a really great resource to help you provide lots of high quality tactile graphics for your students. And I want to show you some ways that you can kind of make the most of it, how you can run these off on your embosser, how you can make some simple edits and those kinds of things. If you haven't been to the APH Tactile Graphics Library before, you will need to make a free account. You can Google it, it'll come up right away. I'm on the APH site right now, which talks about the image library, and it has the web address here, which is just imagelibrary.aph.org. So you will have to get signed in, and you can start searching for graphics. I can type like moon and see what it has. Lots of great stuff, at least 18 things for you to choose from here. So you can search for words here. You can also browse by categories by clicking on the browse link at the top, and they have these organized into different subject areas. I really like using the image library for things like maps. Making tactile graphics of maps is time consuming, and it's really handy to have these collections of maps just ready to go that you can emboss on your machines. It's also really great for things like animals. Making these on the fly, making different animal graphics can be tough, so having access to these high quality ones is really excellent. There's also some cool things like tactile coloring book pages. And then there are lots of games, bingo, dominoes, things like that, resources to help students understand games or to help them play games. If you want to download a file, you can just click on the download link and choose the original. That's going to give you the actual tactile graphic file that you can start working with. It comes in a PDF format. If you're using a View Plus embosser, or if you're using a POF machine, you can send this straight to the embosser. If you're using a Juliet or a Page Blaster, you'll have to run it through the Firebird software first, or through Tactile View or something like that. As you're working with these graphics, there's a few things you should keep an eye out for that will kind of change how you print these graphics, or you might prompt you to make some edits before you print them. Let's start with this elephant graphic. Anytime you see these grays in a tactile graphic, I think that's a good indication that these are graphics that are specifically designed for the View Plus embossers. So the View Plus embossers are the only embossers where you can do a variable dot height, and you control that with these different shades of gray. So the darker your line is in print, the heavier it's going to emboss on your Braille page. And so this lighter gray area on this elephant will emboss a little bit lighter than these dark lines around it. And this gray area might not raise up so well or at all on your POF machine, your swell form machine. That varies a little bit depending on the printer you're using, the swell form paper you're using, so you can experiment with it a bit. But in my mind, when I see the gray in these tactile graphics, that's an indication to me that this was originally designed for a View Plus embosser. View Plus embossers also use a particular font for their Braille, which is Braille 29. This kind of small Braille dots that you'll see on a lot of these images, those are the View Plus Braille dots. These small Braille dots will emboss really nicely on your View Plus embosser. They'll also come out pretty well on swell form machine. I've had lots of luck with that in the past. But a lot of times people recommend using a font called Swell Braille for your swell form machines. And this is a bolder font, so you'll see much thicker dots for the swell form Braille, like what we have for this heart model here. So if you see these thicker Braille dots, this is Swell Braille that is designed for the POF machine, for the swell form machines. This will not emboss cleanly on your View Plus embosser. So a bit of a trade-off there, something to pay attention to. If you're working with a POF machine, you can get away with using this View Plus font. If you're using a View Plus embosser, you cannot get away with using this swell form font. You will need to change it to the View Plus font. So with that in mind, let's say you need to change this font, or you just want to change these labels entirely. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do that. So one way you can start editing these graphics is to open them up in Microsoft Word. So I'm going to bring over a Word window now, And I'm just going to open up this PDF file. So I use Control O for open. I'm going to go look for my file, and I want blood flow through the heart. Okay. It's going to let me know that it's converting the file into a Word file. So now my document is open, and it may say that you need to enable editing. You might see a banner with a button for that. Or if you see this read only at the top, that's an indication that you're not going to be able to actually edit this file right away. So what we need to do is go to File, and then Info, and then Save As is going to let us create a copy of the document so we can make our edits. And now that I've done that, I can actually go in and start tweaking these Braille levels. So one thing I can do is I can change the Braille font to Braille 29 if I wanted to run this off on a View Plus embosser. Or I could use that same Swill Braille font if I liked the Swill Braille font and go ahead and just change the Braille labels entirely. One thing to know about the Braille 29 font is that it's called Braille 29 because the font size should actually be set to 29. That will give you Braille dots of the correct height and the correct spacing. And one thing that is kind of interesting about working with these labels in Word is that you have to kind of resize these boxes. And I'm going to use the ASCII characters to type in my Braille label. So one thing you might want to do is translate your Braille in Duxbury and then paste it in. Let's say I just want this to say heart, but I don't know the ASCII Braille for that. So I can use Duxbury and kind of copy and paste my Braille into here. Okay, so here's my Duxbury window. I have the word heart typed out in Braille. If I don't know the ASCII that I need to put into my Word document, I can just copy it straight from Duxbury and paste it into my document. So there it has all the correct contractions for me. I don't have to remember the ASCII characters if I don't want to. So then you can just kind of repeat that throughout the document, changing Braille labels or changing fonts as necessary. And then we can just print it to your embosser, just like we did from the PDF. I'll take a quick look at that. We're going to say print. One thing I found with working or printing from Word is that we're going to have to adjust the paper size and adjust our margins. So it likes to default to this custom page size, and then it likes to rotate it weird. I had some issues with how this is falling on the page. So I had the most consistent results with 11.5 by 11. We want to keep it at landscape orientation. And then in the margins, I want to set the margins to 0.5, 0.5 for the top and bottom, 1 inch on the left, and then 0.5 on the right. And that should help this graphic kind of fall correctly on the page. So that's what it's like to prep these documents in Word. But let's look at doing this in Adobe Illustrator, which is where I like to do most of my graphics. So now I'm here in Adobe Illustrator, and if I want to open up some graphics, I'm going to do it just like I did in Word. I'm going to use Control O for open, and I'll find my graphic. We're going to use the muscle group. And I'll hit OK. All right. And I can start working with my file now. So one thing that we'll see in Adobe Illustrator is sometimes you'll open a file and you'll be able to edit the text straight away. You'll be able to play with the different lines and everything really easily. But with other files, when you go to edit the text, you can see I click on the text and it selects the whole image. So this is pretty common for graphics from the APH library. Particularly I found with graphics that have this little APH logo in the bottom left corner. In order to edit these graphics, we actually need to right click on them and release the clipping mask. So this is something that's kind of holding all the elements in this graphic together. And by releasing the clipping mask, we'll be able to go in and actually start editing these elements. And just like in Word, if I want to change my font, I can do that with the font menu at the top of the page. If I need to remove Braille labels entirely, I can. Or if I want to change the font, I can type in my new Braille labels here. If I don't know the ASCII characters, if I don't have those memorized yet, I can again pull them straight from Duxbury and paste them into Illustrator and have all those Braille characters come over correctly. I have found that it does make a difference if you use the File menu open or Control open versus if you drag a file in. So I'm going to close this muscle file, and I'm going to just drag the file into an existing Illustrator project. I said before, we can right-click on these to release the clipping mask to start working with it, but when I right-click on this after I've dragged it in, you can see that clipping mask option isn't there. That makes this a bit harder to work with. I have found one workaround, which is if you click on the image and then you go into the object menu and flatten transparency, that will let you start working with some of these shapes. But one thing that happens is these Braille dots actually become circles. So this isn't a font anymore. You can't change it. This also means it's not going to emboss correctly on the View Plus embossers, but it will let you start working with like this line drawing. Some images will let you just ungroup it and be able to start working with the lines or the Braille or whatever. This image is trickier where ungrouping isn't working. So what you can do after you've used that flatten transparency is use this direct selection tool, which is this filled in cursor here. And this will let you grab all the lines out of here without getting everything grouped together. So I'm just going to draw a box over it. And now I've got just the person there. I can copy and paste and start working with this without having to worry about everything being grouped together in the same way. When I'm ready to print this, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to hit print so I can send it straight to my embosser. I want to make sure it's going to the embosser and not to some other printer. You can double check that your media size is correct. I'm going to go under media size and choose 11.5 by 11. We always want to make sure that scaling is turned off for these. We want do not scale, and then we can hit print and it'll start embossing for you. And that's it.